Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl Rock with another word of the day. I'm super excited to share with you guys what thus saith the Lord. The topic of this word of the day is called I Did It My Way. The reading will be from the book of Luke, chapter 15, verses 12. I'm going to read you guys the scripture, give you guys a backdrop of stories I always do. Pray that the word bless you as it has already tremendously blessed me. And here it goes. A man, had two sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate before you die. So his father agreed to this and divided his wealth between two of his sons. I'm going to read it again. A man had two sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate before you die. So his father agreed to divide this wealth between his sons. So the son is asking for this is the prodigal son. I just mentioned this scripture, this story yesterday. I'm going to give you guys a rewind again real quick. It is a young boy who asks for his father's his share from his father's estate. The father agrees, gives the man his portion of the estate. He goes and squanders it in wild living. He spends himself all the way until he runs out. He experiences a famine. He, goes through hell as a result of that, living beneath himself, starving, going without. And he finally comes to himself like, you know what? Why am I going through this? I can go back home to my father, go back to his father's home, gets restored. And basically the father takes him in, put him back in a space where he's doing well again. But to show you guys what the scripture is saying, what God want me to share to you guys again, here it goes. I'm going to say it one more time. A man had two sons. The young son told his father, I want my share of your estate before you die. So his father agreed to it and divided his wealth between the two of his sons. Look at the word estate. It means all the money and property owned by one person, family, or organization. Another expression for estate means riches, holdings, fortune, belongings, worldly goods, resources, property, and legacy. And legacy means the amount of money, property left to someone in a will, right? So this boy is asking for his share of his father's estate. You need to understand, first of all, that everything the man that this young boy asked for, although he had share, this was ultimately the father's estate. It's the father's property. It all belongs to the father. But he wants his share that the father had set aside for him, but it's still the father's stuff. So, and then the thing that blessed me when I looked at the legacy means the amount of property left to someone in a will. When we look at the word will, not only it means the thing that one's desires or of one's what is ordained for a person, but most importantly, a will is a legal document containing instructions as to what should be done with one's money and one's property after one's death. It's specific instructions in this legal document that should be done with the goods that is allotted to the person that's in the will, right? So the Lord was showing me that the reason why this boy who asked for his share of his father, which is our Father in heaven, it is his property, it's his estate. We are asking for our share of what belongs to our Father that he set aside for us. And he asks us of this thing. The scripture says the man asks for this thing, and he asks for this thing. He wants to receive it before the father died. And this is a disheartening thing because many of us are asking for God to give us what belongs to us, but we want this thing from the Lord before he dies. Look at the word die. It means to be no longer in the land of the living. It means to be expired. It means to be departed from this life, to be no more, to be checked out, to exit, to be vanished, to disappear, to dwindle, to be forgotten, to be decayed, to be stopped, to fade away, and to cut out. Some of you guys, it's unfortunate because you are asking God for the share that he has set aside for you that belongs to him, but you want to give it to him before you put him to death, before he dies in your life. Some of you guys are asking for stuff that God has for you, and the only reason why you're even in company, having a conversation with him, why you even conversing with him, you're only conversing with him because you want that which belongs to you before you kill him out of your life, before he dies. And that's disheartening because you are trying to cut out someone that basically your stuff belongs to, and you only want to get that which belongs to you. You're only coming to him requesting what belongs to you, what you desire from him, just to get rid of him, just for you to dwindle away, just for you to fade away with your relationship with him, just for you to forget him, just for you to disown him, just for you to get rid of him, to cut him out of your life. But the thing is, you cannot cut out someone where the estate belongs to them. Even though it is your share, it is God's estate. It is God's will. It is God's legacy for you. But you cannot get this thing that God has for you and not squander it without abiding to the will, the terms, and the instructions of that which is in that's willed in which you get. This man had asked for something that belonged to him, that God set aside from, that his father set aside for him, that belonged ultimately to the Lord. But he tried to go about it in his will, not the will that's according to that legal document. Some of you guys have something that God belongs to you. It's a legal document that God has for you. A legal document that has your property, your good, your riches, and your stuff. But you can only get this thing. This thing will only be beneficial to you when you abide by the instructions of that will. There is two wills that goes on in the life of people. There is God's divine will and his permissive will. The permissive will is the one that we get outside of God's will. But there are terms that go with that will. And the same thing when it comes to God's will, his divine will for our lives. It's the will that God ultimately wants for our life that we should see success in. But in that will also is terms that are set. According to in the posture in which you take this will determine the terms that are set in the will that you choose. You're still going to get the stuff God has for you. I need you guys to know that now, because God's not a robber. If he set aside something for you, he has it for you. However, depending on the way in which the will you want to abide by will determine if you be like the prodigal son and this thing squanders it, or if you're like the other son that's not mentioned in the text. The only time this other son is mentioned in the text is when the father divides the estate between both kids. But one kid left the father's house and one stayed at the father's house. He didn't go through lack, the one who stayed at the father's house. He didn't go through drought, the one who stayed at the father's house. He was in a space where he starved to death at the father's house. He didn't spend his money frivolously or carelessly at the father's house. He didn't spend it on wild living at the father's house. Why? Because he literally had stuff that belonged to him. He had his share of his estate, and he stayed under the will of the father. He stayed in the house of the father. So it's but so much you're going to see any failure in your life. You're not going to see any failure in your life when it comes to being in the father's house over the will that he chose for you with the shares he has for you. Some of you guys are trying to take what God has for you, but you're cutting him out of the will. You're cutting him out of the will. You're cutting out the terms he set for what he had for you over your life. And the only reason you're coming to him in the first place is because you want something from him. You think God don't know that? You think God don't know that you're just using him? You're only speaking to him now because you need something from him? He knows that, if I give this to this person's going to leave me. They're going to forget all about me. Their posture of me going to fade away. How they feel about me is going to dissipate. They're going to forget all about me. Some of you guys, you better be lucky that God's fortunate enough to not give you what you're asking right now, because he knows that he has to wait for you to get to the place where you go about this thing in his will. Because when you go about it in his will, he know you will not leave him. And you will understand the fact of that it is him that, our well never runs dry. It is him that will never go without. But if you're trying to get something that belongs to you, that was given to you from the Father's stuff, and you're trying to do it outside of the Father's will, it's going to be squandered. No questions about it. Because you're not going by the instructions. You're all about getting your stuff instead of going by the instructions in order to be successful in the will that he gave you over your life. So I don't know what this is for today, but you better be lucky that the Lord is not giving it to you. He's waiting for your countenance to change towards him. So that way you can get what he has for you. But for those of you who got what God has for you or had for you, and you forgot all about him, you wonder why in the space you're in right now, where you're in lack, where you don't have nothing left, we don't have nothing to provide for where you're at in the space right now, because you took what you got from the Lord and forgot all about him. And it wasn't until this man humbled himself and came back to the Father's house and was even willing to take on a space beneath him. He wasn't even trying to come back to be the Father's son anymore. It's like, if I just come as your servant, I just want to be back at the Father's house. It was then when he was restored and he got more of that which was in the Father's house. What belonged to the Father found his way back into his life. He didn't get his estate back, but he got plenty more from that which it came from, because he returned and got himself to this place where he was humbled. Some of you need to humble yourself after forgetting about the Father, return to him, and get to a point where you humble yourself to get what he has for you. God bless you. Have a good day.